Hello everyone and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, The Lost Planeswalker, and today we're going to talk about two evergreen keywords since they're so similar. First Strike and Double Strike are two really cool combat interactions that can make your creatures really hard to kill. First Strike has its origins all the way back in Alpha, and Double Strike has its origins as a contest, an actual promotion for Magic, and the person who designed it was Wayne Alward. So thank you. This is a really cool mechanic, and I'm glad you came up with it. Now let's see how these rules interact. According to 702.7a and 702.4a, both these have static abilities that modifies combat steps, and you can see the rules in 510 combat damage steps. 702.7b and 702.4b, if at least one attacking or blocking creature has First Strike or Double Strike, see rule 702.4 and 702.7. As the combat step begins, the only creatures that assign combat damage in the step are those with First Strike or Double Strike. After that step, instead of proceeding to the end of combat step, the phase gets a second combat damage step. The only creatures that assign their combat damage in that step are the remaining attackers or blockers that neither First Strike nor Double Strike as the first combat damage step began, as well as the remaining attackers or blockers that currently have Double Strike. After that step, the phase proceeds to the end of the combat step. First Strike and Double Strike have two different effects. First Strike deals damage before regular combat, meaning if your creature destroys the opponent's, then before regular combat step, that creature goes to the graveyard. Then during the regular combat step, it only receives damage and doesn't deal anymore. Double Strike is slightly different. It does First Strike and regular combat, basically dealing damage twice. If a creature is destroyed because of Double Strike in the First Strike damage step, then it doesn't attack during the regular combat step. Now this does change if a creature has Trample, where if you kill a creature during the first combat, you will still attack during the second combat because of Trample. The two most popular colors for First Strike and Double Strike are red and white, with 39.8 and 30.1 for First Strike and 35.4 and 29.8 for Double Strike, respectively. These two colors account for a majority of the cards, and it is unique in this way. It would be really hard to build a deck not in these colors if you wanted to take advantage of First Strike and Double Strike. Now, let's look at some really cool and powerful First Strike and Double Strike cards. There are a lot of creatures that can be used as commanders that have First Strike, like Karlach, Fury of Avernus, Lissa, Blade of Goldnight, and Akroma, Vision of Ixidor. These cards usually have some other abilities, as well as using First Strike as a little bonus to its regular ability. Karlach gives extra combats, Gissa doubles damage dealt and halves damage received, and Akroma buffs up all the creatures with multiple abilities. Ragnarok, Danitha, Capashen, Paragon, and Loira Dawnbringer are some more really cool cards. Ragnarok is often used in Voltron strategy. Danitha will make your ores and equipments cheaper to cast, and Loira buffs angels and gives them lifelink. Now let's look at some other cool First Strike creatures. Similar to the most common commander cards, Knight of the White Orchard, Thalia, Heretic Cathar, and Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, have some other abilities that make them really good. Knight of the White Orchard has you search for planes if your opponent has more lands than you. Thalia, Heretic Cathar makes creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped, and this is very powerful. And Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, makes non-creature spells cost one more to cast, and this can really affect spell slinger decks. If you can play this on turn 2, you can keep your opponents from ramping on turn 2, making them have to waste a whole turn to do nothing. Now, let's look into some cool Double Strike commanders. Atarka, World Render, Zatalpa, Primal Dawn, and Halkar, God of Battle, gives creatures Double Strike, or has them. Atarka was just reprinted in the starter commander deck, and can be incredibly hard to beat once Atarka enters the battlefield. Warren Instigator, Fury, and Angel of Destiny are some amazing creatures that are hard to deal with. Warren Instigator lets you put goblins from your hand onto the battlefield when it deals damage. I have paired this up with some goblins to become huge threats fast, and because of this ability, you can put up 2 goblins from your hand onto the battlefield each turn if he isn't blocked. Fury is often cast for its evoke cost to help remove creatures, but if it's cast for its regular cost, it's a nice creature to have. And Angel of Destiny is a really powerful and one of my favorite alt win cons. By attacking and gaining a bunch of life, you can make your opponents hit by Angel of Destiny lose the game. Now let's look at some cool instants. Akroma's Will and Boros Charm are 2 powerful instants that can end the game quickly if you give attacking creatures after blockers weren't declared. This can quickly end the game and give your opponents no chance to respond. Some powerful artifacts that give First Strike and Double Strike are Fire Streaker, Sword of Vengeance, and Embercleave. Fire Streaker and Sword of Vengeance are very powerful, but your opponents know that they are coming when you swing in. Embercleave has Flash, so you can just cast it like an instant, and this is by far one of the most powerful equipments the game has ever made. There are a couple of cool enchantments for First Strike and Double Strike. True Convictions, Duelist Heritage, and Ethereal Armor provide players with some cool tools. True Convictions give creatures Double Strike and lifelink, which can gain you lots of life fast. Duelist Heritage allows you to give attacking creatures Double Strike. This can be used on opponents' creatures as well to deal big damage to your other opponent. Ethereal Armor buffs up your creatures and gives it First Strike, making it very powerful and hard to remove. There are 2 really cool cards that I want to show off that you should be playing if you can. Master of Cruelties and Audric Lunar Marshal are 2 very neat creatures. Master of Cruelties can put your opponent's life total to 1, well within kill range. It can only attack alone, but it also has Death Touch, so it will destroy any block blocking creature when it deals its first strike damage. Audric Lunarch Marshal is one of my favorite cards to put in all kinds of decks. Audric gives creatures you control at the beginning of each combat the ability of each other creature on the battlefield. If you build a deck with a bunch of different keywords, like first strike or double strike, you can make your board state very threatening very easily. Now I want to show off the creature I'll be building a commander deck around on Wednesday. Rayav Mastersmith gives attacking enchanted and or equipped creatures double strike, and there are lots of really cool cards that we can put into this deck, and it should be very fun. That's it. Thank you all for watching. We just reached 300 subscribers, and if you would please consider helping me more, subscribing would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. If you found this interesting, or there's a cool interaction with first strike or double strike, leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, please share it and leave a like. And as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.